Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having yourselves a great ending to your day, a great work week so far. Got you a big update on what's going on for tomorrow, which we all know is going to have a lot of severe weather, and not just for a small portion of the country, but for a very large portion of the country. And really, there's two risk areas that are really going to be enhanced. Well, technically, it's a moderate risk, but really what I'm saying is two areas that are really going to have that maximized potential to see the worst weather. But there's other areas too that we need to talk about. And to speak on that, we're going to do something a little different in this video. We're going to break it down state by state. And also, just asking for a little bit of patience in this video. I want to do something different that's going to benefit you guys. I'm going to try to mention some of these small towns, these small cities and communities in each state that I mentioned. So we're going to take our time in this video. If that makes this video an hour long, so be it. But I have my phone right here below my monitor. And so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my phone and looking at Google Maps. Not going to lie to you guys. I don't pretend to know every single town and community. But I know it makes a lot of people feel better when I mention their specific town. I get it. Trust me. But always remember when I'm saying like Eastern Iowa, Southeast Missouri, I'm literally talking about Eastern Iowa and Southeast Missouri. I know that doesn't help you as far as a town, actual area, but I'm speaking for all towns in that area when I say that. And sometimes when I got so much coming to my head at one time, I'm going to fumble my words a little bit. I'm going to screw up the name of a town, and I'm just going to forget a town that maybe is well known. So we're going to do this slowly. I'm going to look down a couple times, and we're going to try to break this down and compare what I'm seeing and what I'm showing you, and what it means for maybe your community. And hopefully I mention your town or community. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I try to pump out as much content as possible, and I try to keep you guys updated as much as possible by making 2 videos a day. It takes a lot of work, and I'm not here to say, here, woe is me, feel bad for me. That's not what I'm doing here. I just certainly just your support and just subscribing and liking the video just means the world to me, and I really appreciate it. It helps to get these videos out to more people too, and get them updated information. More importantly than all. So if you guys got anything that I can pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. We're certainly praying for everybody that's going to be impacted by this, and everybody who has storm anxiety, which is a real deal, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. So let's get rolling. We're going to slow it down, speed it up. I wish I had somebody right beside me that would tell me, hey, Mitch, you're going a little bit too fast. Slow it down. So we're going to try to inch our way through this. I'm going to have plenty of tabs pulled up for y'all to jump into parts of videos y'all want to see. And we're going to try to work our way through this. So with that being said, water vapor loop. You see this huge dip in the jet right here. This is initially where our storm track is. So you got this huge mid-upper trough digging into the west. A surface low is already developing or is developed and is moving across the higher elevations of the western U.S., the Rockies. This will eventually, and is already doing so, beginning to eject across the plains. And as it does so, it'll move very slowly, but then become powerful into this area right into here. Blizzard conditions. There will be a blizzard in areas of South Dakota and surrounding sections of each state. And you go about 3 hours southeast of the blizzard, and you have severe storms, maybe producing damaging winds and tornadoes. That tells me right there the big D word, which is dynamic, a very dynamic storm system. You already got storms exploding. I mean, they're below severe limits as of now, but you got storms ongoing right now just due to the push of this moisture in from the south with this responding low pressure shooting across the plains. And you look in Oklahoma right now, you got very fast moving showers and heavy rain and storms, and these are producing lightning. The lightning isn't showing up right now, but this storm, in here in southeast Kansas, here's the lightning right there, is severe. So it's going to be kind of rocky here in areas of Arkansas and Missouri over the next several hours. So, but it tells you right here, we already have enough forcing for thunderstorms in response to this low pressure shooting across the country very slowly at this point. We look at watches, warnings, and advisories. Remember, I told you this morning this was going to look a lot different, and sure enough, it is. Where you see red flag warnings in this dark, hot pink color, that is basically where you're not going to get much rain, but you're going to get a lot of strong winds in response to this surface low strengthening and moving to the north. So this will be dry and very windy. And of course, you guys have not seen a lot of rain. This happens a lot of times in the spring where you guys get completely ripped off with the moisture, but get all the strong winds with it. So please do not do anything that will even light a spark in this area. And these extend all the way into western Missouri. Okay, this does include Kansas City. All this is wind advisories. You have high wind, make sure I say this right. You have high wind warnings already up in portions, a few counties in Kansas and southwest Missouri. Okay, high wind watches up for the entire southern Appalachian Mountains, almost all West Virginia, western North Carolina, and the higher peaks of Tennessee, all the way up into western Maryland and then southwest Pennsylvania. There will be very strong winds in this area. But you see this red? That is a blizzard warning, where there'll be severe weather in Iowa, all points south and southeast. Okay, so winter storm watches up for Minneapolis, winter storm warnings up for areas of Wisconsin and South Dakota. So huge blizzard warning. We'll talk about this at the tail end of the video. So let's go on and start breaking it down. The first thing we will do is discuss the Storm Prediction Center update, and we'll zone in on areas. Okay, Storm Prediction Center actual site, broad view look at it, and we'll zone in on each area, so bear with me. Moderate risk down here, moderate risk up here. Both areas have high end kinematics, and both areas, only one area has high end thermodynamics, which is the southern end. But you're going to have a tongue of moisture all the way up into the triple point, basically all the way up to the surface low, and you're going to have enough CAPE, enough storm juice, storm fuel to the atmosphere for tornadoes up here too. The thing that has changed since this morning is we had a 10% risk in this area. This now is a 15% risk. So let's go on and talk about that. Enhanced risk for all these other areas too, slight risk, and we're going to zone into these areas. Let's talk about the northern area, risk area of this severe weather. Okay, Chicago right here. We got Rockford right into here. Okay, right into here you got Davenport, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and like I said, I'm trying to cover some of these states. Down here, some smaller towns and communities, but this is the moderate risk. I think the moderate risk could get actually pushed eventually a little bit further east into northern Illinois, maybe to include Rockford. But I would say the epicenter of the northern part of this severe weather is going to be in this red, obviously. Like I said, that includes Iowa City, even up into Waterloo. It's right on the fringe, right in here. But don't focus so much on that. Enhanced risk up here. Okay, Chicago right in here. Then you got Springfield, and what else you got? I think you got Bloomington right into here. So you guys got enhanced risk. You got enhanced risk in St. Louis. But like I mentioned this morning, that somewhere in this area could not even get a storm. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just focus on what the risk area. So moderate risk, a level 4 out of 5. Orange risk, a level 3 out of 5. Yellow risk is a slight risk, which is a level 2 out of 5. Okay, so Indianapolis, you have a slight risk. You're right in here. Evansville, enhanced risk. Southern sections of Illinois, which include Mount Vernon, places like that. What is that? Carbondale, enhanced risk. Basically, the entire state of Illinois either has an enhanced risk or a moderate risk. Okay, let's go on and skew a little bit. Let me adjust this really quick. And so those same areas that have the moderate risk also have, in this red area, if you're confused about the categories down here, red area, 15% risk. I know it's small on your screen. That is a 15% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. The yellow area, that is a 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. Okay, so like I said, all those cities I just mentioned had that 15% risk. Outside of those cities, places like, let's zone out a little bit here. Kirksville, Memphis, Missouri, and northeast Missouri, you got that 10% risk of a tornado. So one thing you will look at here too, and if you're wondering about the brown risk, that is a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location, and that does include Indianapolis, Chicago, and St. Louis. Okay, but you see how you have these like checkered lines going through this where they're all crossing each other? You have the 15% risk of a tornado, but you also have a 10% risk of a significant tornado. That is an EF2 or higher, or stronger. Okay, same thing with a 10% risk. 10% risk of a tornado, but also a 10% risk of a significant tornado, EF2 or higher. They don't add up on each other. It's its own separate risk, if that makes any sense. Okay, let's go to the wind threat. These are for winds. All right, this purple area right in here, this purple color, this is a 45% risk to see winds pushing 50 knots or higher within 25 miles in any given location. That's basically almost a 50-50 shot, almost, to see winds pushing 55 to 60 miles per hour. That's like tropical storm force winds. The red area, that is a 30% risk of the same criteria. And then the yellow area, that is a 15% risk. Okay, so eastern Iowa, under the gun for strong winds. Western Illinois, especially northwest Illinois, the same areas that are under the gun for a tornado threat, significant wind threat here. You also have the hatched risk, which is, like I mentioned, the hatched risk is always this black outlined area with all the lines going through it. You also have a 10% risk of significant winds of pushing 65 knots or higher. That's basically like 75 mile per hour winds or higher. That's hurricane force winds. That's why I said hurricane on the thumbnail. Hurricane force winds are likely for someone in this area. 10% risk of it. Hatched, huge risk. Okay, and one thing that hasn't been mentioned a lot is the hail threat. You have a 30% risk to see hail pushing 1 inch or diameter or larger in this red area. This is because you're going to have cold air aloft overcutting the moist air at the surface and the warm air at the surface. Because there's so much cold air nearby. I mean, you have a blizzard on going right here to the northwest. All this cold air aloft, with any kind of individual supercells that get going, will easily produce big hail potential. Okay, you got a hail also threaten this yellow area. Okay, that is a 15% risk to see hail pushing 1 inch or diameter. And then you have the hatched risk, which overlaps areas of the yellow and the entire red area. That is at least a 10% chance to see significant hail pushing 2 inch or diameter or larger. So that's the breakdown for the Storm Prediction Center for the northern section. What about the southern section? I would argue if there's going to be an area that sees a 30% risk of tornadoes, it's going to be this area right here. But right now you have a relatively small moderate risk down here. Enhanced risk everywhere else. Enhanced risk includes Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, includes basically the entire northern section of Mississippi. Okay, let's zoom this out. I just want to mention some places. The moderate risk includes Memphis, Jonesboro, the entire the Boot Hill of Missouri. It includes areas like Dyersville. What is it? I think it's Dyersburg. I apologize for you folks. Dyersburg, Tennessee, here in western Tennessee. It includes Poplar Bluff. Somebody said there's a lot of people that live there. I would actually say that you guys are kind of just outside the moderate risk based off the latest Storm Prediction Center. So you're really close to that moderate risk. If you go just, I would say, south and southeast and east of the city, Poplar Bluff, I think I said that right. Hopefully I did. Let me know if I didn't. This is where you're in the moderate risk, but don't focus so much on that. I'm telling you. But Little Rock, enhanced risk. But big cities like Memphis, you have the moderate risk. Okay. Pretty substantial area. It's the same thing up north, but it's down south, right? You have a 15% risk to see a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. In all those same areas I just mentioned. Okay. Jonesboro, Blytheville, Arkansas, and I do apologize if I don't mention anything. Kennett, in the Boot Hill of Missouri, you have a 15% risk to see a tornado within 25 miles in any given location in that area. Like I said, Dyersburg. Let me say, make sure. Yeah, Dyersburg. I have a problem where I'll mention a name on my head and then I'll forget it 10 seconds later. Obviously, Memphis. These entire areas right in here have a 15% risk in this red area to see a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. The yellow area, that is the 10% risk to see a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. Okay, and this includes areas into Oxford, Mississippi, Batesville, Mississippi, Holly Springs, Clarksdale, Mississippi, you got that 10% risk. Once you start to get in the extreme northwest Mississippi, you got the 15% risk. Okay, if anybody's going to get upgraded to this 30% risk of a tornado, it's going to be these guys in the southern mode is what we're calling it. Okay, but you also have a 10% risk in the black outlined area, which pretty much covers up the entire 10% region area. You have a 10% risk to see an EF2 tornado or higher within 25 miles in the given location. I'm going to quit saying within 25 miles in the given location. I think you guys get the point. It's important to reiterate that sometimes. There is a threat for damaging winds down here. Okay, you have the 30% risk of damaging winds in the entire red. Okay, but you also have the 10% risk of significant winds pushing 65 knots or higher. That's at 75 miles per hour. Okay, this includes Memphis and all those other towns and communities I just mentioned in this area. You don't have the hatch risk in Little Rock or Tennessee and Nashville, but I really think Nashville could get hit pretty good. And I don't want to ignore you guys in Kentucky. Just kind of dawned on me. I hadn't really mentioned anybody in Kentucky, but Paducah, you're technically just outside that 15% risk of a tornado. But this could expand, northeast to you guys. I just want to reiterate, don't focus so much on the risk area. It's important not to do that. But, all the communities here in far western, southwestern Kentucky, let's see if we can mention any other, Mayfield. Obviously, most people that knows even a little bit about weather knows what happened in Mayfield. You guys have that 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. You're very close to the 15% risk. This is a lot of people, are kind of comparing this kind of outlook to December of 2021, where we had the nocturnal tornadoes, but could be bad in this area. And like I said, you got the 10% risk hatched area too. So with that being said, let's start breaking this down. Let's take a broader look at this. And what's going to happen is we'll start off for tomorrow morning, right around. And I want to reiterate this. I know a lot of people are watching on their phones, and I know that I don't do the best job of mentioning times and what time frame we're at. But guys, it would take an insane amount of work. It would take a very long time to edit the times in these videos. So if you're confused about what time we're in, almost the entirety of this event will be in Central Time. So you see that 8 a.m. up here for Friday, back it up 1 hour. So whatever time you see up here, in this case it would be 7 a.m. in Central Time. Back it up 1 hour because this is in Eastern Time. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to move through this quick, and then we're going to zoom in on each state. What happens here? Surface low starts to crank up. Storms are already developing here in southeast Iowa. Look at these storms exploding. Southern mode, northern mode starts popping off. Blizzard up here in South Dakota. This really gets going, but this is just the beginning. This is just round one. These nasty storms move into southern Wisconsin, all the way into Milwaukee, northern Illinois. But look at these storms. These will be the ones that really have, I think, a higher chance to produce a tornado. The thing about these storms right near the surface low is they will not maintain a discrete mode very long. They will go linear very quick with a massive amount of forcing and wind energy with this. So quickly, you'll go from, 3 p.m. at this point? 3 p.m. These storms are leaving. You're thinking, was it severe weather over? No. You go 1 hour, bang. Look at all this storm development that develops really quick, and we'll zone into this area. Then this quickly turns into a disruptive line of storms in this area. And then this sweeps through. Huge line of storms is working its way through Illinois. But what I'm concerned about is the latest HRRR model has a lot of these hooking. See that kidney bean look that we talk about? This tells me that all these storms will be trying to rotate from Louisiana all the way up into the Ohio Valley, and then this sweeps through, and we'll see how much this maintains all the way into the deep south. But look at this blizzard ongoing, and then this heads on off into the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Let's zoom into each area. Let's talk about Iowa first, okay? Let me go on and get to Iowa on my old phone here on Google Maps here. I can tell you, some people's asked about Des Moines, Ames, Iowa, which is right around in here. I think storms develop just northeast, just east of you guys. But we'll start off, and let's make sure we're on the right time. We'll start it off around 10 a.m. Friday morning. Like I said, if I don't mention the time, look right up here and back it up 1 hour. All right, some storms already ongoing in far southeast Iowa. These kind of blast through. They kind of develop very quickly. These could be packing a punch here in the entire eastern Iowa area. Davenport, Iowa City, Waterloo. I'm not going to try to pronounce the D-town, D-U-B-U-Q-U-E. It's funny. I looked up the how to say it earlier, and then I forgot already. But I think you guys in Iowa know what I'm talking about. But Davenport, Cedar Rapids, already getting a lot of storms. But I want to let you guys know, in eastern Iowa, whatever storms you're getting, like from 1 to 2 p.m., those aren't the big storms. It's what forms after this. Look at these. Look, from nothing in this area to explosive storms. Ames, Des Moines, right into here. These storms form just north and east of you guys, northeast. But any of these storms that you see right in here could be producing. And it really keeps showing big time area of storms that develops right on top of, what is that? Ottawa. Hopefully I said it right. Forgive me if I didn't. I hope you're not offended or anything. But storms explode right over this area right here of Iowa. They get going. Let's zoom out a little bit. Watch out. I would say Marshalltown. These storms could get bad. And then they quickly take that linear look, which turns into a line of storms. And then they begin to sweep through eastern Iowa and all those other cities I just mentioned. And I really think that there will be embedded tornadoes still with this. And I don't want to ignore you folks up here in southern Minnesota. There could be some severe weather into southern Minnesota also. But I think the worst will be just to your neighbors to the south in Iowa. Then these storms continue to sweep through and bringing destructive winds and a tornado threat. But I think that the damaging wind threat begins to really maximize. Let's back this up and let's talk about a couple other ingredients. Like I said, we're going to get very detailed. And let's look at the updraft helicity tracks here and how this could develop. This basically tells us where the potential for rotating updrafts can be. And look, and let's do the tracks. I always like looking at that better. Not a whole lot going on. Those storms kind of early in the afternoon could be spinning. They certainly could, but it's really the ones that explode right into here from east central Iowa all the way through eastern Iowa. That look, I mean, the more vibrant these colors is the higher chance that these storms will be rotating. So that doesn't mean that all these are going to be tornadoes. That's not what that means, but that tells you that these are going to be having a chance to spin. Another thing we can look at kind of in response to this is the significant tornado parameter in this region. And it grows and grows, but it's quick moving, really spikes right here begins to spike early in the afternoon for Friday, and then it quickly is going to try to spike again right here over all those communities I just said, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, places like that are going to have a significant threat. Waterloo, I think areas like Davenport. I know I keep mentioning it. Clinton, you're going to be like the epicenter as far as Iowa and northern Illinois for a tornado threat. So we're getting into 5 p.m. Tornado parameters are pretty high in this region. Then this moves out. Okay, so that's Iowa. Okay, I hope that helps. I really do. Let's talk about Wisconsin very quickly. I think it's just going to be the southern area of Wisconsin. The northern section will be seeing snow, while the southern area, watch out for these storms that blast through into southern sections of Wisconsin. And I don't want to just say southern sections. The one thing I'm actually interested is, do these maintain severe limits all the way up to maybe places like Madison? You go down to Janesville. Hopefully I said that right. I think I called it Janesville before. You go up down to Janesville, and I definitely think you could see some severe weather tomorrow, especially as we're getting into about 2 to 4 p.m. These storms enter, but there's going to be a massive gradient somewhere in here where you'll go from kind of a spring-type atmosphere to a winter-type atmosphere. And then when you go to that winter-type atmosphere, you immediately lose a lot of dynamics for severe weather. But these first cluster of storms move through sometime early in the afternoon. 3-4 p.m. This is what it could potentially look like on radar. And then behind it, 6-7 p.m., these storms begin to enter southern sections of Wisconsin. And then we go right here, like I said, Janesville, Madison, over here to even all the way until Milwaukee around 8 p.m. I would say 6 to around 9 p.m. Some big time damaging winds are possible. Maybe even a tornado threat in southern sections of Wisconsin. So please be aware of that. Damaging winds are going to be possible with all of this, okay? And these will sweep through and even head towards Chicago, and we'll talk about Chicago here in a minute. But look at the snow in the northern section of the state, while the southern portion of the state is seeing severe weather. Okay, so same kind of deal. You know, you got to watch for these spins, okay? And I hate it keeps flipping to 19Z. Same thing. I mean, you got to watch for little bits of some rotating thunderstorms in this area. And with these storms, you're going to have, you know, strong winds, potential wind gusts with these storms. Here they are. Some of these storms could be producing hurricane force winds moving into southern sections. Watch out, Janesville. I'm telling you, watch out for you folks. Okay, and these really are holding together. Do they hold together and produce some very strong winds from Milwaukee? Not quite sure. And I feel like I left you guys hanging in Iowa as far as strong winds. So I'll kind of go back to you guys, which a lot of people probably aren't going to see. But these storms will be blasting through with 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds in Iowa too. Okay, all these storms. And even behind it, look how strong the winds get. There's going to be a period overnight of very, very strong winds tomorrow night into the wee hours of the morning of 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds, not even associated with thunderstorms. Okay, let's talk about you folks in Illinois. It's a state that could potentially get hit very hard. We'll start off around 7 a.m. Remember, if you're wondering about the time frame, look right here, but back it up 1 hour. Okay, you're already going to have a lot of morning convection. Okay, how much clearing do you get in Illinois? You know, it's a little bit. You know, it's a little bit of a question, but you know, I think areas like Rockford. Let's see. I almost tried to zoom in on my computer. Freeport, Dixon are going to be the epicenter of the worst weather as far as small towns and small cities in northern and northwest Iowa. But we keep this going. First area of storms could clip and affect areas of northern Illinois. These could be severe limits. But I'm telling you guys, if you're in northern Illinois and you get some storms around 2 to 4 p.m., please don't think that's your severe weather. It's what forms behind this. And there's going to be two things I kind of have to touch on at the same time. I want to mention there is a chance somewhere from, I would say, you know, Quincy to St. Louis in this area right here does not see any storms. So if you're in that area, I just want to let you know, you guys could potentially not even get a drop of rain. I mentioned this 24 hours ago in last night's video. There's going to be an area right in here that might not get anything. Maybe even all the way into, you know, potentially into Springfield. You know, Bloomington might be affected by this. What is it? Peoria. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The Peoria. Apologize if I'm not. I'm probably not, but I know you guys will correct me in a nice way, I'm sure. But let's just go back to the storms. We'll go to 6 p.m. Look at these storms. Northwest Illinois, Rockford. There could still be a tornado threat with these storms, but this quickly. And look at the pinks and the purples. That tells me some hell with these. And I hadn't even mentioned the H word, hell. This could be, to me, this looks like almost a wind-driven hail right here. Damaging winds, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds blasting through northern portions of Illinois that could have hail in it. So it could be I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we hear reports of hail blasting the sides of houses. And at the same time, and we'll back it up, these storms will blast through northern Illinois. And then a nasty line of storms will probably move through Chicago. I would say, 8 to 9 p.m., give or take an hour. And then they'll move on out. But let's back it up. Let's talk about the southern area, because this is the southern mode down here. This moves into southern Illinois, okay? Mount Vernon, Carbondale. You guys are part of that southern section. You see these it looks like it's hooking a little bit. Okay, you guys are closer to better what we call thermodynamics, which is better. It's higher dew points, better Kate values in response, better surface heating, better Kate values. I think I just said that. But this is going to be the higher end tornado threat down here, I think, than this. But that's why you got a 15% risk of a tornado up here. And I'm not saying that it'll be a higher tornado threat down here. I'm just saying that the tornado threat could potentially move up into this area. But these storms will be producing potentially all hazards down here in southern Illinois. Basically, I would say if you're from Bloomington Point south all the way to the southern tip of Illinois, you guys could certainly be seeing some rotating thunderstorms, damaging winds, and I would say the time frame would be from 3 p.m. They cross the state throughout the late afternoon hours, and then they'll head on out into Indiana by about 8, 9, 10 p.m. We'll talk about you folks in Indiana here in a second, I promise you guys. But as far as this, you look at the winds. I want to mention the winds really quick with this, not the snow. No snow in Illinois. And look at the wind gusts with this. 19Z again. Here we go. The wind gusts with this. It'll already be extremely windy ahead of this. I mean, already around lunchtime, from central to southern Illinois, you got winds gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour. You're going to walk outside and you're going to be like, dang, something is coming, honey. I can tell you that. But we're getting into this to tomorrow afternoon. Winds increase to 40, 50 miles per hour ahead of storm development. And then look at the winds approaching Illinois. And then look at the winds embedded in some of these storms. I mean, that's winds pushing 70 to 80 miles per hour inside some of these storms up here in northern Illinois, sometime around 6 to 9 p.m. And you can see it embedded in some of these storms down here around the same time frame. But more of a widespread wind moves into the state, I think, overnight. And just a consistent, very strong wind into the overnight hours into Illinois. But as far as that, we'll go back to the severe weather. The significant tornado parameter, not very high in the morning, but then this begins to move into the state. And then look at this, around, mention Champaign, Bloomington. You guys, got significant tornado parameters pushing 6, 7, 8, and it gets very high. I know this is really loud on your screen as far as a visual, but I mean, you got values well over 10. This doesn't mean you have a 14 out of 14 chance to see a tornado. It tells you that there's ingredients here that supports a risk for tornadoes everywhere. Even where you don't see any rain, it still has a high-end, what we call in short, STP reading. So the ingredients are there, guys, for severe weather with a kinematic and thermodynamic-driven environment. Illinois could be the epicenter of a big day tomorrow. They really could. And I mean, these parameters just continue all the way into the late evening hours, okay? Big day. This is a significant tornado threat, especially for northern Illinois and maybe deep down in southern Illinois, okay? Let's talk about Missouri. For you folks in Missouri, I think the biggest threat will be in the Butte area, Missouri, down there in southeast areas of the state. But let me go on and get Missouri on my screen here. And just to mention a couple areas, like I said, Kansas City, Columbia, Quincy, you guys could not even get a drop of rain potentially. But we're getting into this afternoon. I'm sorry, I keep saying this afternoon like it's going to happen today, but we're getting into tomorrow afternoon as early as 3 p.m. Look at these storms in kind of eastern to southeastern sections of Missouri. This does include areas like St. Louis Point South down to Farmington. It includes the Poplar Bluff area. Sykeston, Jackson, all these cities. Severe weather. And these storms really begin to mature. They really begin to grow around 4 to 5 p.m. and they start moving through Poplar Bluff right around when you're about to head home from work, or your day's ending if you're an 8 to 5 kind of person like I am. This is right when these storms will be moving through the boot of Missouri. And but you notice, you don't see much for northern Missouri, and you're thinking, well, why do we have an enhanced risk up here? Well, that's because the ingredients in the environment is still favorable for storming, but you definitely have a cutoff in this area. So Columbia, Kansas City, definitely Kansas City, but Columbia, up here to portions of kind of northeast Missouri, might not see any rain, okay? But down here in the Butte area, please watch out, okay? Zone into a couple regions down here. All these small communities, Dexter, places like this down here, and I hate saying that, places like this. I know that's quite annoying, but there's a lot of small little towns that I can mention that I don't know how big or small they are, but around 5 p.m., these storms begin to really plague the Butte area right here in Missouri, and then they head on out. And I would say by the time you get to about late evening hours, the storm threat could potentially be just about over for this area. But I'm telling you, down here, you got better surface moisture. So you look at the moisture down here. These are dew points, not temperatures. Dew points ahead of all. This is dry air, not temperatures, guys. Dry air. But look at the dew points that rise all the way to almost 70. That is not good. Look how moist it is in Illinois. But these dew points rise into the upper 60s. Plenty of juice to the atmosphere down here. Okay? Plenty of juice to the atmosphere. And, you look at the winds sweeping through the state of Missouri, even areas that do not see, and that's why you have red flag warnings out for western Missouri. You're getting into, 11 a.m. You got winds already in areas of the western portion of the state gusting to 40, 50 miles per hour. And then look at this. Tropical storm to hurricane force wind gust blasting through eastern Kansas, moving into the entire state of Illinois as we're getting into the afternoon hours, we're getting into the evening hours, just very strong winds. Would not be surprised if we hear about some wildfires breaking out there in portions of the plains and even after, all the energy from the storms move through, this punch of strong winds will move through after midnight tonight, not tonight, tomorrow night for northern Missouri. So big time threat. We'll look at the significant tornado parameter for Missouri, and it really maxes out down here in southeast Mizzou, where values reaching well over 5, 6, 7, even 10s in some of these storms. But you're definitely going to have some spin to the atmosphere down here, that's for sure. So we need to take this serious, guys. It's not really excited about these updrafts down here, but don't get so focused on that. This is going to be a hefty environment for tornadoes down here in far southeast Missouri for sure. Let's talk about Arkansas, and this is also going to include Mississippi, western Tennessee, all the way to northern Louisiana and northeast sections of Texas. Yes. But we'll get going. We're getting into the morning hours. Already some morning convection flying around in Arkansas and surrounding regions. But these storms quickly begin to develop all the way from northeast Texas to western Arkansas. These storms are developing. These begin to really mature and get very strong as we're getting into the mid-afternoon portion. Okay, so Little Rock, these storms could, start moving through the area, probably late afternoon hours, probably 4 or 5 o'clock. Pine Bluff, same kind of deal. Over here to, Forest City, Arkansas, the storms will start to move through around 5, 6 p.m. Into Memphis, I think maybe a little bit later in the afternoon, probably early evening time frame. But these are more semi-discrete, meaning these are actual supercells in the warm sector. You have plenty of low-level moisture, plenty of kinematics, plenty of everything in this region with a strong low-level jet over this entire threatened area. Okay, so these storms will really get going in central Arkansas, sweep through the entire eastern Arkansas area, even all the way down here in the southern sections of the state. I'm talking about sections of like, El Dorado down here in southern Arkansas. You guys around 4, 5, 6 p.m. could have a tornado threat. Okay, once these storms move through, it's pretty much over. Crosset, Arkansas, 5, 6 p.m. these storms can move through. Then they start to, get very close to the Mississippi River. And, they can make it all the way. And they start to slow down. That's the thing, is it loses forward motion with the low pressure really getting way up here to the north. And there could be some strong storms even in northeast Texas. Okay, Shreveport, some strong storms maybe around late evening, around dinner time. Some nasty storms can move through. But Memphis up here, Oxford, these storms will be powerful around the late evening hours, 7, 8 p.m. Dyersburg, storms 6, 7 p.m. Up here to Paducah, Kentucky, my folks in Kentucky. Mayfield, these storms will be blasting through. I would say it will start to enter the western portions of Kentucky probably around, I would say, 6, 7 p.m., maybe earlier. So Paducah, Mayfield, you guys, strong storms, severe storms, tornadic producing storms potentially in this area. And then we'll see some kind of additional storms that might develop in northern Mississippi. A lot of low-level moisture down here, and the storms really slow down. They're not really moving fast, but Oxford, places like this, northern Mississippi could get some strong storms late into the evening, into the overnight hours, and then they'll make their way into Huntsville, Alabama, Florence, Alabama, for example, as we're getting into after midnight, and could be quite significant for that area. And then these will even try to get as far south as Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, into the wee hours of the morning, and we'll see what happens there. But significant threat for sure, and this is probably going to be some pretty high-end parameters that we're about to see. Come on, baby, let's get rolling. And the significant tornado parameter for this region, let's get back to the long-range HRRR model. They starts to max out as early as Friday morning, but it really gets high for eastern Arkansas, central Arkansas, as we're getting into just the afternoon hours. And then look at this. Getting into the evening hours, I mean, you have values pretty high in this area. This is going to be a substantial tornado threat. Remember, it doesn't mean you have a 10 out of 10 chance to see a tornado. It means that all the ingredients are here for tornadoes, and the higher the number is, the higher ingredients you have mashing into the atmosphere. It's not the exact definition, but just know the higher the number, the better the ingredients for tornadic activity are here. And you look at the updraft velocity, and it really shows it well. Shows how there could be just widespread supercells in this entire section right into here. So dangerous environment on the southern mode. If anybody's going to get upgraded to a 30% risk area, it's going to be you folks down here. Now I'll talk about Indiana and Ohio, Kentucky, because I don't want to leave you folks out. You're going to be dealing with a lot of rain in the morning. That's not your severe weather threat. Okay? This will make its way through. It'll clear out. It'll calm down for about, late morning, early afternoon hours. Then here comes these storms. Okay? Let me go on and get this ready. These storms begin to enter Indiana as early as 5, 6 p.m. Okay, but the latest trend for you folks in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky is worrisome. And why I say that is because if you just look at this as face value, you see these hooks right here, hook right here, hook right here, hook. Kind of that kidney bean look where it's kind of hooking literally. That tells me that this is taking like a semi-supercell look pretty far north all the way up into Indiana. So what I wonder is, are they going to increase the tornado threat for Indiana? Maybe even expand it more so to the east. But I'll stop it right here. You got nasty storms right over, I would say, Evansville around 7 p.m. Indianapolis anywhere from 7 to 9 p.m. tomorrow night. Down here, we'll keep this rolling. And I can't ignore the far, northwestern section of Indiana. You guys could get some bad storms also. But we'll take it down here to the south. Bowling Green, these storms will start to move through probably Bowling Green, Kentucky, probably, 8, 9, 10 p.m., something like that. And I apologize, I keep saying that. Just doing this on the fly. And I'm hoping this is helping you guys out. I really am. But Louisville, Kentucky, you guys, the storms will probably move through sometime, I would say, 9, 10, 11 p.m., give or take an hour. Okay. These start making their way through central Kentucky into Ohio. And this is when they start to lose some steam. You start to get close to midnight. And these are moving through like the Frankfort area, starts to move into the Lexington area, probably just after midnight, Lexington, Kentucky. Cincinnati, these storms probably move through, producing damaging winds. Tornado threat not near as high, but damaging winds is certainly a possibility. Right around midnight, give or take an hour. And then, Columbus, same kind of deal. But look at this. I mean, there's that little, you guys look like you got embedded supercells in this line all the way into Ohio. So Dayton, Columbus, maybe around midnight. Like I said, maybe give or take an hour. I love saying that because it gives me a little wiggle room. I never want you guys to take me exactly serious when it comes to a time of the day. I'm always going to be off by an hour at least. But these storms really blast through areas of eastern Kentucky right after midnight to make their way into West Virginia and then the southern Appalachian Mountains. And then winds are really going crazy. And, I'll back all this up and I'll look at winds really quick. And man, let's get it right here. Winds very strong moving into this entire area. And I mean, look at this. We're getting into already gusty tomorrow afternoon. But these storms will be associated with some very strong winds. So sometime later in the afternoon, evening hours, the entire state of Indiana, Kentucky, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts associated with these storms, 60 to 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts associated with severe storms. And then these make their way into Ohio around midnight. But even look behind this. Look at these strong winds that blast through the entire Midwest and Ohio Valley as we're getting into Saturday morning. Okay, very strong winds. Very, very, very strong winds just for non-thunderstorm winds. Okay. You know, it's you could potentially have some spin-ups with this too. If we go and look at the severe weather and we look at the updraft velocity tracks. And, I mean, it picks up, especially Indiana, some storms that could certainly have a tornado threat with them. I think that we'll have a chance to have some embedded rotating updrafts in some of these storms. So it's going to be impossible to figure out who exactly sees a storm, guys. You know, we're never going to know that. But in general, we're trying to figure out the best we can. Southern Appalachian Mountains, this moves through and could affect you guys. You know, the storms start to enter the picture. I mean, you start to get into the Cumberland Plateau. Storms can move through that area, you know, just after midnight. Valley area starts to enter North Georgia. I would say 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, Saturday morning, moves right over the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Strong winds associated with this, and then starts to enter the rest of the Carolinas. But this, of course, loses some steam. So if you're thinking it's going to be a day of widespread rain in the Carolinas and Georgia, Saturday, it's not. These are going to move through. Could try to re-intensify again down here in southern South Carolina and Georgia, where you're going to have a marginal risk for Saturday. But in general, I'd expect a pretty tame day in these areas. But we'll see if this area in the southern section tries to uptrend. A lot of times that last day of the severe weather threat likes to kind of uptrend in this region. So we'll see what happens there. For folks in the Mid-Atlantic, I mean, you know, you're probably going to get some weather that kind of blasts through Saturday morning from Virginia to Maryland, eastern Pennsylvania, the Delmarva region. And this will just be some gusty showers and storms throughout the morning hours Saturday. Not a huge deal, but the potential for some very strong winds associated with some of this, especially as this pulls through. Strong winds come behind it. So the blizzard. There is a blizzard portion of this, and, you know, I won't stay very long, but, you know, this will start to crank up tomorrow morning, and we'll just spin around out here. And there will be some snow even into Nebraska. We'll stop this around 3, 4 p.m. Heavy, wet, blizzard-driven snow in South Dakota. This will try to make its way even into areas of Minnesota. Heavy snow. This, you know, for example, you might start the morning off with some severe storms, potentially. Start the evening off with some severe storms in areas around Minneapolis. But by the time you're getting into maybe around 10, 11 p.m., you're switching to heavy, wet snow in this region. Okay, and it could be a several-hour period of some heavy snow. And in fact, Minneapolis, they're going for 6 inches of snow. Okay, so that's pretty wild. And then right here in South Dakota, look, over a foot of snow. Wind-driven snow in this area. So this is a big deal that's just not being talked about because of the other big deal, which is severe weather. But South Dakota, full-out blizzard cranking up tomorrow. So beware of that. Storm Prediction Center, I want to mention this. Another severe weather threat expected next week, probably Tuesday. This is basically an enhanced risk, guys, at day 6. So we're going to do this all over again next week. We'll talk more on this when we get past the event in front of us. Thank y'all for having patience with me in this video. I really hope it helped. This is by far the longest video I've ever made. I'm out of breath. But thank y'all. Hope it helped. I really do. Hopefully this doesn't upload at like 11 p.m. tonight. But stay safe out there. We'll try to do it one more time in the morning. We won't get quite as detailed. But we'll give you one last update in the morning. God bless all y'all, and have a great night.